The young man in this article about a hermit living on Newtown Creek was living like a Maroon. During slavery, many enslaved people would escape captivity, sometimes for a few days, sometimes for years, sometimes forever. The accounts of enslaved people relate many times that a person escaped, dug a hole in the earth, and made a home in nature. While August Depperman was not escaping slavery, he was obviously trying to escape the house of refuge. Wednesday, September 20, 1893, the Standard Union. Young Depperman lived in a cave. August Depperman, a 7-year-old lad, was committed to the house of refuge by Justice Connolly in the Lee Avenue Police Court this morning on a charge of vagrancy. The boy's father, John Depperman, lives at 18 Bremen Street. He testified in court this morning that his son had not lived at home for months, and that the boy lived in a cave in Queens County near Newtown Creek. The boy admitted that he loved an out-of-door life and said he could not live at home. We assume this story had a typo and meant 17 instead of 7 for the boy's age. In August 1896, Depperman shows up in the record again looking for a place to lay his head. Wednesday, August 5, 1896, the Standard Union. Caught in a cellar. August Depperman held in $1,000 bail for trial. August Depperman, 19 years old, of 216 Montrose Avenue, was arrested yesterday at noon in the cellar of Theobald Schaefer at 107 Ewan Street. He had forced an entrance into the place, and the noise he made in stumbling over a box alarmed the proprietor, who sent for a policeman, and the lad was placed under arrest. He pleaded not guilty in the Ewan Street court today, but was remanded on $1,000 bail. Among many examples, in the WPA Georgia slave narratives, a woman named Julia Brown relates, "Sometimes the slaves would run away. Their masters were mean to them, that caused them to run away. Sometimes they would live in caves. My grandmother ran away from her master. She stayed in the woods, and she washed her clothes in the branches. She used sand for soap. I reckon they get along all right in the caves. They had babies in there and raised them, too." Another formerly enslaved person says, "Connected with nearly every home were those persons who lived in the woods, in preference to doing the labor necessary to remain at their home. Each usually had a scythe and a bulldog for protection." A woman named Leah Garrett describes a very robust Maroon when a husband and wife escape a promised beating for the wife from the enslaver. "The husband carried her to a cave and hauled pine straw and put in there for her to sleep on. He fixed that cave up just like a house for her, put a stove in there, and run the pipe out through the ground into a swamp. Everybody always wondered how he fixed that pipe. Course they didn't cook on it until night when nobody could see the smoke. He sealed the house with pine logs, made beds and tables out of pine poles, and they lived in this cave 7 years. During this time, they had 3 children. Nobody was with her when these children was born but her husband. The 7 years she lived in the cave, different folks helped keep them in food. Her husband would take it to a certain place, and she would go and get it. People had passed over this cave ever so many times, but nobody knew these folks were living there."